Greetings, folks. Welcome back. This is going to be part 2 of what I'm just going to right now name the Nolan Movie Podcast, or Nolan the Movie Podcast. Part 2, we're going to be talking about Alien 5. Part 1 was about Alien as well. I spoke a little bit about the differences between the Alien series, some of the movies in the Alien series. If you want to listen to that, I'll put the link here. But going forward, I won't necessarily always be talking about Alien, and just kind of a coincidence that the first 2 here are. Hopefully there'll be a part 3. I like rambling and ranting. But anyway, let's jump into it. The internet's kind of buzzing. The internet's talking. The stories are being written. The comments are being made. The chismis out there is about Alien 5, and specifically who may or may not be in Alien 5, or who it may or may not be starring, and that is Ellen Ripley. The buzz is kind of about Sigourney Weaver coming back to the franchise. For some reason, this is in the news, and I'm not complaining. If something's being talked about out there in the zeitgeist, it's a good thing. Usually, all news is good news, or whatever. But anyway, so what's it about? That's what we're going to talk about today. And let's start with what we all know. We're kind of currently right in the middle of the prequel trilogy. I'm going to call it a trilogy because, of course, we had Prometheus in 2012. We had Alien Covenant following that in 2017, if I'm not mistaken on those. Who cares? And we are hopefully getting the third installment in the prequels, and we'll call that a trilogy because I know there was kind of talk that Ridley Scott said he could do up to 5 movies, I think was the number. I think it's unlikely we'll get that far, given how it's pretty speculation, and we're not even sure if we're going to get the part 3 that we deserve, because of the Fox kind of acquisition by Disney, and Ridley Scott's getting up there in his age. I hate to say it. I don't know if we're going to get 5, but I would love to get that third and kind of really wrap up the prequels. I love them. I love the arc of David. I love where the series is going. Blah, blah, blah. Sorry, my computer fans are like whipping on, so it kind of distracted me. But anyway, I think we'll kind of go back a few steps. Before we got what we now call Covenant, there was another project that we all know about that was slated to be directed by Neil Blomkamp, who of course made District 9, which is awesome, and Chappie, which I never saw, but it's kind of not really regarded in the same light. But way back then, there were reports, quote unquote, that suggested that Neil Blomkamp's movie would involve Ripley and possibly even Hicks, which is kind of out there. But of course, that never did come to fruition, obviously. But now, today, June 19th, and the last couple days, really, of 2020, the internet is buzzing again. And I'll just quote this thing real quick here. Where is it? Empire reported recently that a 50-page treatment from Alien franchise producer Walter Hill was sent to the actor Sigourney Weaver around a year and a half ago. So, in short, that's kind of where all this is coming from. Alright, so what I want to talk about first, I think, besides all that, is what do sci-fi fans want? It's no secret that Alien fans are pretty divided when it comes to the direction of the franchise as it stands. I think that could be summed up in this stupid opinion, and I will quote, I think this was from The Guardian. I'll have to splice that onto the screen here. Anyway, so quote, "Unfortunately, most fans in their right mind would rather be cryogenically frozen and dumped alone on a xenomorph planet than sit through yet another installment of tedious, fractious, portentous, and confusing late-era Alien as directed by Ridley Scott," end quote. No, I did not know what those two P and F word. I don't know what the fuck those were. So yeah, maybe this guy's smarter than me. All right, maybe his opinion as a journalist is more valid than mine because he knows those two words. Okay, probably not. But anyway, I don't think that's what most fans. I don't think that's most fans' opinion. But it is definitely like the loud ones, those like holier than thou Alien fans. I think that's their opinion certainly. But I think a lot of people have kind of came around when it comes to the prequels. But there's definitely that contingent whose minds will never be swayed. They'll never. Sorry about that police car driving by. They'll never be able to enjoy Ridley Scott's like current series arc, and that's whatever. I mean, I can't change their minds, and that's perfectly acceptable. You know, I love what I love. They love what they love. That's neither here nor there. We have to agree to disagree. But what do those like OG like / elitist fans love about the first two films that they're not getting in the prequels? And you always read this comment, or you always hear, like if you listen to the other podcasts, for example, about Alien, they say this. They say, we don't want an explanation of the alien. We don't want to know anything else about the xenomorph. We like it how it is. Okay, but Alien came out in 1979. Audience had never been exposed to like space terror in that way. The xenomorph was such an awesome like mystery monster, and those fans hate any backstory. They do not accept David. They want the ambiguous space Michael Myers that is the xenomorph. But what I think is when a movie graduates from a movie to a series, you can't have Space Michael Myers over and over, because what it really turns into is Space Friday the 13th. You just have like butchering teens over and over. You get Jason Voorhees rather than Michael Myers. And that's, there's the Rob Zombie effort, the Rob Zombie Halloween remake, reboot, whatever, with the backstory, and you get kind of like child abuse and like poverty and fucking all that stuff, and that's kind of like where murderers come from in real life, but that's not what people want. I mean, the people that hate that series, that's what they kind of say they don't want. Similar to the way that they hate David, they don't. Like, I think I've already said this, but they don't want David fucking creating a xenomorph, period, okay? And that's put in a pretty broad brush with it. I mean, obviously in Prometheus, there's the wall art of like a xeno-like creature, so it's, apparent that, xenomorphs come from the black goo and they possibly killed the engineers that were all stacked up or whatever the fuck. David didn't create that, but it is looking like possibly he has created this kind of like biomechanical xenomorph that we all know today, and we kind of were getting into that in Covenant when we saw the protomorph. But anyway, let's digress here. Let's see. So, what we can never get again is that. We can never get Alien. We can never get the mystery of that. We can never even get Aliens again, because we've seen the xenomorph. It can never be scary again in that way. It's not mysterious. It's not hiding in the shadows of the Nostromo, dangling from the ropes. It's not, leaping out of nowhere and grabbing Dallas. That can happen again. All right. So what the OG fans kind of love about those movies, I think, is the 80s. They love the look and the feel. They love the analog. They love something that you won't get again. And you can accept that or not. But I think now it's kind of like you embrace sci-fi, or you say, fuck it, I don't embrace sci-fi anymore. I only like those movies. I don't want to go forward. But anyway, I don't want to dwell. I always say that. But anyway, let's not dwell. I just don't think certain people, especially those that are looking to somehow experience Alien from 1979 again, they can't move on and appreciate sci-fi. All right, so let's talk a little bit about good modern science fiction. You have, I think what pretty much everyone can agree was a cool movie was District 9. The whole concept of, was different, much in the way that Alien was different. You haven't seen that before, and it was pretty awesome. And that was, of course, by Neil Blomkamp, which is, I'm sure, why people were so, willing to give him a go with the series and see what he did with it. Then you got Chappie, which I actually have never seen, but I've heard it's pretty shit, but I'm not saying it is. I've never seen it. But yeah, more recently we had the movie Underwater, which I thought was pretty rad. I've only seen it once in the theater. I remember liking the trailer because that movie speaks to me in a couple ways. I'm terrified of the ocean. I love the sea, but I've loved Jaws ever since I've been a tiny little kid. In the movie video stores, walking down the aisles, I found Jaws, and my parents let me rent it for some reason, and I've loved sharks ever since, but I've also been terrified of the ocean ever since. All right, and another thing that Underwater has, that's just like visceral fear for me is tight spaces. I would say I'm definitely claustrophobic, so A, B, 1, 2 punch right there for me. I was definitely going to see it, and then of course it involves monsters and aliens or whatever, so boom, boom, and boom. I thought that movie was pretty cool, but of course you had people that they took it the whole other way. They saw the main actress, I can't think of her name, who I've never hated. I've never seen Twilight, but I liked her a lot in what the hell is that movie about the theme park? Anyway, spacing on that too. But I don't dislike her, but a lot of people do, so they never gave that movie a chance off the jump, off the get-go. But I think that movie's pretty cool, for a sci-fi movie that just came out. We don't get a lot of good sci-fi, in my opinion, so I think that's probably swaying your opinion on anything else I have to say, because I do like that movie, and I know a lot of people don't. But fuck those people, and fuck you. No, I'm just kidding. Cynical people just can't enjoy anything. Is what I'm saying about that. But let's get back to the Alien. Let's get back to the Alien universe. Going forward, I think we can realistically expect one of two things for the next movie, and I think that's either a sequel to Covenant that would most likely wrap up this whole David arc and likely be Ridley's last go, or we get a reboot. And I think the only option would be a reboot in the way that the Halloween franchise was recently rebooted, and that is you say fuck everything after Aliens. No Alien 3, no The Resurrection. You just kind of go into the future somehow. Another police car. It's like I live in the freaking ghetto here or something. Anyway, you get a reboot, and I think that's definitely doable. But what we shouldn't even be thinking about wanting, in my opinion, is some sort of shoehorning Ripley back into the series, just for the nostalgia. That sounds so bad to me. Ripley burst onto, Alien came out 41 years ago. Think about that for 1 second. All right. So, what are those fans that want Ripley back? Read the comments. If you're listening to this, you're part of those Facebook groups. You're reading the comments. You could even be ones writing those comments. What are you wanting out of Ripley back? What you're not going to get is the feel of Alien, or Aliens for that matter. What you are going to be getting is Terminator Salvation. All right? The latest Halloween was kind of believable. You have a couple senior citizens, for lack of a better word, dueling, but it's on planet Earth. They're using guns and knives. You're not having, all right, and I'm sorry to put this out there, but Sigourney Weaver's 70 years old. Do you really want your hero, your beloved 1979 heroine champion? Do you really want Ellen Ripley back in her 70s killing your xenomorph? Like, that sucks too, you know? Like, that sounds awful. You know, an old lady, with all due respect, I love Ellen Ripley. I love Sigourney Weaver. You know, I don't want her back, all right? So I think that's pretty much going to wrap up the podcast today. What are your thoughts? Would you like to have the Covenant, the Prometheus kind of arc be continued? Would you like a straight up reboot that kind of just does its own thing? Or would you be open to what some people are open to, and that's having Ellen Ripley come back and save us again? Let me know your thoughts. I appreciate you guys listening. We'll see what the next podcast is. I could definitely do like a There Will Be Blood, or a Ghostbusters, or a No Country for Old Men, or some like cool like 80s horror. Let me know what you would like to hear. I love talking about movies. So I appreciate you guys once again. Thanks for listening. Take care. All the best.